I do want to talk a little bit about Padsplit, just your experience with them. I get this question a lot, and obviously we both know a lot of high ups there, and Atticus, the CEO, is a good friend of both of ours, and so just curious. Hey, maybe you talk about the pros, maybe talk about the cons, and then I'd love for you to talk a little bit about the pros and the cons of Homeroom. That's an up and coming company too that I know you tried, and I'm starting to hear that name more kind of out in the community. Oh, they'll help manage your property, and go from there. So curious your experience there.
I think you need to figure out what game you're playing, right? And for me, like you said, I focused on being the money guy, and so my big focus was how do I hand off the whole portfolio? I now have a once a month check-in, and we review metrics and, where are we at with the homes? What happened? Why? What preventative things do we need to do? What happened? Like, a sewer line broke, and and so a room flooded, and it cost $3,000 to fix, and just talking through all the scenarios that happened. Padsplit is an interesting, kind of all of these services are interesting. They play in different ways. Padsplit, if you're going to self-manage properties, I think you need to figure out, like, if you are still going to the properties, being the maintenance person, or you're the person in charge of calling the maintenance person, or, still dealing with issues on site, that's like one form of, the work that you need to do in order to earn the return from the homes. And with Padsplit, they've kind of divided theirs up into two parts. The first is the marketing and the filling of the homes with the tenants. And so arguably what I'd say is, if you're using Padsplit, you're basically saying, hey, I'm either not good at marketing, or I'm not ready to take marketing on yet. And but I still want to manage the properties myself, because then if you're going to do that strategy, what I would do is focus on how do I build SOPs and make that as streamlined as possible, and make it run smoothly, so that the next thing I do is take on the property, like filling the homes with the tenants. Or you could just say, hey, that's not what I'm interested in.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that, right? Like you, for example, if I still understand it correctly, is you are vertically integrated. You do the marketing, you get the people in there, you have someone in-house that manages it, the whole nine. And you get a lot more of the return for that. So I'm paying close to 23% in property management fees, but for that, I am 100% hands off. If you go with Padsplit, you're like 50% hands off, right? You have the them filling your homes, and then you needing to do whatever needs to be done on site.
Right. So they manage the tenants, just so people understand. They manage the tenants. They're going to take care of tenant complaints, filling them, signing those leases, making sure you get your money, collecting. But if a toilet breaks, Padsplit's not going to take care of that. You do need a separate property management company. That's right. Is that how that's how I understand it?
Right. Okay. And so I'd be interested in hearing Atticus' take on this, but I'm wondering if their target avatar of an investor is someone who doesn't want to deal with the marketing, but wants to do their own property management. That's how I know, at least the investors that I know that do Padsplit, that's how they use it. And to me, it's like,
you're looking for more of a full force solution,
right? And look, I think if it is an interesting thought process, right? Like if I said, hey, I've decided that I want to bring property management in-house, I would probably do it in stages. I'd probably say, cool, let me just do all of the maintenance stuff and get all of that taken care of, build SOPs, make that run smoothly, and then I take on the marketing, so that I'm not doing everything all at once. Like that could be an interesting, unique way to do it. But I think you need to decide where you want to play. Like the reason why I don't like doing the on-site property management is because I think that it takes up mind space, and I could go make more money buying more deals or raising money.
Yeah, this is full circle to kind of what you've kind of a theme that I didn't think was going to be a theme of this podcast, but it is, which is like, know your strengths. You said it a different way. I think you said just know what game you're playing, and then double down on that. And you're just like, no, that's not me. And I think investors would do well to do that. I think maybe in the beginning, you kind of have to be a generalist. If you're at your first home, you're kind of a generalist. You're trying to do a little bit of everything. But there comes a point, and for me, that's like 5-6 homes where you got to kind of like, hey, if you're managing, I mean, I'm talking specifically the co-living world. If you're managing 5-6 homes, you're 30, 35 tenants, 40 tenants, like that is a job to somebody, either you or somebody else that you're overseeing. And so 5-6 homes in my mind is where it really becomes that business, and you need to make that decision if you're trying to get to financial freedom and you don't have a ton of wealth already, of, hey, do I pass it off or do I keep it in house? But you also experimented with this other company that's kind of branded themselves a little bit differently than Padsplit, Homeroom. And are they the same way? Did they split it up with like, we manage the tenant and then you hire somebody else to manage the property, or are they a full service?
So they were a full service.
Okay.
They were like 15% all in for everything.
So cheaper by 8%. It's pretty significant.
Yeah, pretty significant. Worth trying.
Yeah.
We just ended our engagement maybe 2-3 months ago, and I moved my last property back over to Padsplit. I ran that as an experiment for 9 months. And it, initially the rooms filled, and then, the rooms just began to sit vacant. And I sat down and came to a meeting and was like, hey guys, like, what's happening here? And I was like, okay, what's your game plan for filling it? And they didn't have one. And that was a little disappointing. But I think one of the learnings is that, my type of home, it didn't have a common area. It was a little bit out of the buy box that Homeroom looks for when they look for investors to partner with. And I was outside of that buy box. And so at least what, I can't confirm, but what they've told me is, they don't have problems filling any of their other homes. But my home's a little bit different. It's got more rooms. It doesn't have a living room, whatever. And so it ended up not working. And, I think another good lesson in, like, we all need to stay within our buy box for these things to work.